just got done at the gym. Today, I want to get into how I'm staying disciplined in the meantime while I don't have a full time job. One of the hardest things about being unemployed or navigating an in between phase is how do you maintain that discipline when you don't have a set daily schedule? The same goes for anybody exploring the entrepreneurial track when you're just starting out and you're figuring out your day to day routine. Staying disciplined is hard with no boss, no set schedule, no meetings to keep you on track, no team, no deadlines. I wanted to share a few things that are helping me keep some structure right now. Why is it so hard to stay disciplined when you don't have a job? Well, first off, it's because you're lacking all of a sudden in external accountability without set structure. It's like bowling without bumpers for the first time. Naturally, there's going to be some trial and error in figuring out what is going to work for you. Your sleeping schedule may start to get all over the place because you don't have a 9 a.m. meeting to wake up for anymore. Meal timing, too, can be all over the place. There's also, especially in the beginning, a certain degree of low motivation and low self-worth to overcome. Certainly, I first was laid off. There was multiple weeks where I was just unable to will myself to do the littlest things, even on a daily basis, to like eat and brush my teeth and take care of myself. I didn't want to see anybody because literally I was so ashamed. I just wanted to hide and be in a literal cave away from the world. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to go out into the world, like to go to a store or the gym or even that degree of contact. Like that's how low it got. And I'm sure for people who went through similar things, you probably felt some degree of that as well. The risk is very much present of slipping into this what's the point kind of mindset, especially as you begin to navigate the process and you run into friction, you run into rejections, you run into recruiters that ghost you, whatever the case may be. You start to slip into this very cynical mentality, like creeping towards nihilism of like, what's the point? Certainly in the wake of like a disappointment, it can be fine to experience that emotion for a while, but over a longer term, it can be dangerous. And you have to kind of know yourself well enough to know how long is enough to kind of experience and let yourself sit with that emotion to what's the inflection point where you should actively be doing something to get out of that state. And then there's that illusion of all of a sudden I have all of this free time, which depending on your personality, depending on how naturally structured, independent, and self-driven you are, can be quite freeing or it can be quite dangerous and can be a pitfall as well. The paradox of choice is that now the world is wide open for you to do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want to be, do whatever you want with your time, but oftentimes for a lot of us, that's too much choice to be navigating on our own without some sort of structure. And then instead of being this freeing thing, it suddenly instead becomes a source of paralysis where you don't take any action because you can't decide what you want to do. Having established all of that, I want to now talk about a little bit what's been helping me these past few months. Even though I'm a little bit less active in my online fitness coaching business at the moment, fitness is still a pretty big part of my day-to-day. Granted, I was experiencing for a prolonged period of time, and to some extent still even now, a drop-off in the amount of just personal passion and how interested I felt in the subject area. But at the very least, I'm maintaining a schedule. I'm still doing a 4 to 5 day per week schedule where I'm doing an upper lower body split during the week and a push-pull leg split during the weekends, so that at the very least I'm still showing up, and even if I'm not setting new PRs every single time, I'm at least consistent enough to be getting reps in so my muscles are still familiar with a certain level of ongoing exertion. I'll do my best to keep this up even on bad mental days. I will try to set it up to where it's just automatically part of my routine. It's not a decision point. They have to decide whether or not I feel like doing this today when I get there. That is part of the upkeep, where you make it natural and make it reflexive enough to where it's not a matter of you go or not. It's really just a matter of, is it going to be a 9 to 10 out of 10 effort kind of day, or is it going to be something more moderate than that, given where you are? Walks and non-negotiable movement can be pretty important for active recovery, for fat loss, for just maintaining a certain degree of regular movement and staying active outside the confines of the gym. So I have a dog. I take him out for morning and evening walks. It's certainly not 7 to 10,000 steps all by itself, but it is something, and it gets me enough of a routine to where I know how my day is generally going to start and end. The point of all this is that setting daily minimums instead of big, ambitious goals is generally the way to go when you're navigating a phase like this. You want to think about small, consistent habits as opposed to these long, overwhelming to-do lists to give yourself incremental amounts of momentum to still make progress. Journaling, content creation, expressing yourself can be a good outlet as well. Forget for a second the views, the intentionality of getting all of these vanity metrics that you may have heard about or mentally associate with content creating. It's not about any of those things. It's just about getting your thoughts down on a format to help you process them and to get them out of your head and to put something back out into the world instead of being in this mode of consuming all of the time. And additionally, I found certainly that it keeps my communication skills sharp to a certain degree, especially for those that work remotely or work from home. You may have those moments where you go to a store and it's the first time you've talked at all during the day. Bring short circuits a little bit because it's the first time you've had to use your words for that day. And I've certainly found when I go long periods without some sort of social engagement, I'm a lot rustier to get going when I do have a social situation or an interview. And in any case, another ancillary benefit of doing content is just keeping my communication skills sharp for when I do have interviews and other important conversations come up. Setting up your job search as a time-blocked shift of sorts, just like if it was a real job, can be helpful as well. For example, setting a 10 to 12 a.m. block for focus work on applications. Even back when I was working, I always was a firm believer in chunking and batching similar kinds of work together. So that means having meetings next to each other, if not necessarily back to back, a certain number of hours carved out for focused, deep work where you're just working on something by yourself. That just helps your brain lower the cognitive tax of doing context switches. Definitely make sure you're staying in regular contact with friends and family. After all, if you're in this in-between phase, you at least on paper have more bandwidth in terms of hours in your schedule. Also, it helps you stay grounded in reality, especially when you start to have a somewhat distorted, detached view of what the world is like once you spend a little bit too long in online spaces in the course of looking for a new role or figuring out your next move. The overarching guidance I would give here is that learn to accept imperfect days. Are you moving overall in the direction that you want? You want to set your bar so that it is harder to fail and that it's easier to meet your own definition of success so that you're motivated by small wins and day to day and you're able to keep going. If you're also in this in-between phase, staying disciplined is really tough and it's normal to struggle with it. These are just a few things helping me stay moving forward even without a full-time structure. If you want me to share more, drop a comment down below. See you in the next one.